Welcome to the newest episode of Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. I'm your host, Jason Fraley, picking the brains of the top filmmakers, musicians, and artists of our time. The 45th Annual Kennedy Center Honors returns to the nation's capital this Sunday night in Washington, D.C. We are getting you in the spirit with this fun flashback to the 2018 Kennedy Center Honors, headlined by two women who need only one name, Cher and Reba. I caught up with country music legend Reba McEntire on the red carpet ahead of the ceremony.
This is a dream come true, to be into the entertainment business and getting this good attention. I want to be a person who loved to entertain. I want them to remember me as a loving, giving person that loved to have a great time.
During our red carpet interview, she was interrupted by then daughter-in-law Kelly Clarkson.
I've not seen you yet.
Kelly Clarkson.
Like Brandon said, he was in his robe and he saw you, and I was like, I think we were supposed to be a surprise. I was like, not now. I know. I was like, well, not. And we just ordered tea, and they literally happened to be passing our room right when the tea came. Sorry.
So what was that because of you duet like with her?
Hello. Like the fact that I got to sing with my hero
So much
and a song
fun.
I wrote when I was 16 when I was listening to all her. So yeah, it's pretty amazing.
You look
I hope you like the
amazing.
song. I've never sang the song that I'm singing tonight.
Can't
So
wait. Don't tell me what it is.
just
I
tell me
wanna
you
know.
like it anyway.
Can you tell us what it is?
Even if I suck. Should I
No.
say?
Reba, earmuffs, Reba.
No.
Okay, here, watch.
No.
Oh,
Yeah.
got it.
That one. Got the red.
Hair, too.
It's not mine. You can have it.
See
Reba,
why I love her.
I also spoke with iconic country duo Brooks and Dunn about Reba's legacy in the genre.
tell me about, not only is Reba such a talented, groundbreaking musician, but talk about how just as a person, such a class act and why that goes so far.
I guess it's just her upbringing. She comes from that ranch in Oklahoma, and just she's minded her manners along the way. But she's just down to earth, and at the same time, gets around as much as anybody we know.
Reba's a cowgirl, but she's as honest as it can be. She gets mad, she'll let you know, but if she loves you, she'll stick by you and back you up. She's
authentic.
that kind of gal.
There's a lot to be said about authenticity, and she's as real and authentic as it gets.
And on the music side of things, just how do you think she helped change the trajectory of country? Because I think, along with you guys, Garth, Reba, Alan Jackson, that era, you guys took it and it went global and mainstream, and now everybody listens to country. But talk about Reba's piece in that and why you think she connected with audience.
Reba's always been really big for women's rights and the presence of women in country music and other places as well. She really does push that and stands up for it, and she honors it as well.
She had a head start on us too. When Ronnie and I got together, Reba was already hitting a big lick, so she threw us on as an opening act on her tour, and it was our chance to get in front of thousands of people. And then we screwed up and had some hits and did some co-headlining tours with her, and of course we're still playing in Vegas together now and become great friends. She's great history.
What a treat that Reba was honored the same exact night as the iconic pop diva Cher.
My life has not been an easy one in my business, but I think if you persevere, I just don't think giving up is a good idea. I was dropped by my record company right before I did Believe.
We have Lady Gaga transitioning from music to movies now, but you kind of pioneered that with Moonstruck, which I love. What's the secret to that transition? And I also want to know, how many takes was that famous snap out of it slap? Was that a real slap, or how often did you get to...
It was really only a couple, and the reason was that right before the last one, Norman came up and said, do it twice. And because Nikki wasn't expecting it, and I slapped him really hard. Norman said, do it twice and do it hard.
The night also honored prolific composer Philip Glass.
Would love to know, Mr. Glass, more about your growing up in Baltimore and sort of the music education you received at a young age up there, and how did you think growing up in that city sort of shaped you as a musician?
Well, I got a lot of the very basic musical ideas from the Peabody, and I also knew I had to get out of there. So I wanted to be in a bigger environment, and I went to Chicago first, and I ended up in New York.
Yeah.
I must say I came back. I played very rarely in Baltimore. I played in Washington a lot of times. I had an opera here a few years ago, symphonies, and I played concerts here. So and Washington has changed a lot in the last 10, 15 years. I think the Kennedy Center has had a lot to do with that.
The ceremony also honored jazz great Wayne Shorter.
What'd you learn from Miles Davis back when you were working with him?
I learned from Miles Davis that he was also learning from us. That's why when he turned his back on an audience after he did a solo, he wanted to listen to the band. I mean, that was just before speakers and everything took over. It got louder and louder.
And finally, the cast of Hamilton received special immediate recognition for their groundbreaking Broadway smash.
I remember we spoke with you guys a couple times before on WTOP. You said
my hometown.
Yeah, you said you drove past the monuments every morning going to Sidwell Friends and everything, and now history's alive. Recount the story, both of you guys, of that initial. You said it was a G chat, right? You said Lynn sent you a G chat and said, I've just read this amazing book. Do you remember this?
Yeah, I sent a not sober G chat from Mexico saying I'm watching Mad Men season 1 on DVD and reading this really great book on Alexander Hamilton. I think there's something here.
Yeah. And of course, I thought that Mad Men would change my life, and I think I just read the wrong line.
That's awesome. And also, you've sort of come full circle. I mean, you mentioned the president in the White House. It started with that poetry jam at the White House.
Yeah.
So what's it like now? Now looking back at that event, you said, you guys laugh, but I'm writing a musical about Hamilton, and now look at you. Now you're getting honored with all the lifetimers.
Yeah, it's funny. That moment was sort of a microcosm of our entire experience, right? I tell you the pitch for the musical, everyone laughs, like, very cute. This is like a funny YouTube video. And then people get swept up in the story because it's an incredibly compelling life story. And by the end of the song, they're like, wait, but what happened with that guy? and so that 4-minute experience, which was a once-in-a-lifetime experience, has sort of been the experience of the show.
Yeah, Alex, obviously, who was a big part of that moment, he was the one smiling very hard on the piano. I say to these guys, but like, what if they had really biffed that performance? If you guys hadn't nailed that, we're definitely not here.
We're definitely not here.
And now, without further ado, I spoke to Kennedy Center President Deborah Rutter about this year's honorees.
My name is Deborah Rutter, and I am the president of the John F. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts.
This is your big week of the year, the 45th annual Kennedy Center Honors. Wow, 45 years. And we have some huge honorees this year. One of your biggest lineups ever, although I'm sure we say that every year. You always get going.
We absolutely say that every year.
But this year it's true again. Better than ever. Tell us, well, I want to get to this year's honorees, but big picture it for us. What year we're in and how you just continually just top yourselves with these honorees.
Well, I have to say that every year is a challenging year because we think, well, last year was the best year ever. How are we ever going to be able to match that? And then we pull it all together, and the honorees are just fabulous. And in this case, each of them is so thrilled and so honored to be a part of this and are seeing this as a really important moment in their career. So it's really, really wonderful to have such enthusiastic, wonderful honorees this year.
Absolutely. And it will be held Sunday, December 4th, the red carpet, then the big performance, the whole works, all the surprise guests, which I'm sure we can't name them, but that's always a surprise every year.
That's the question everybody always wants. Who's going to be there? And then they try and guess, and I just look at them innocently and shrug and say, well, we'll see on Sunday, won't we?
Oh, yeah. Do you, by the way, and we will get to the honorees in 1 second, I promise, folks, but now that we're thinking about it, do you have any favorite surprise performances? Because I'll list mine. I remember when Sting was being honored, I remember sitting there in the auditorium, and all of a sudden, ladies and gentlemen, Lady Gaga, and she sings If I Ever Lose My Faith. Of course, the big Aretha Franklin for Carole King brought the rafters down. Rest in peace. But do you have any favorites from your tenure that just blew you away?
Well, I have to say there are so many memorable moments, and some of the ones that I think about are ones that are maybe not the big, most visible moments. I remember the tribute that we did to Carmen de Lavallade. And the dance segment was so beautiful and so unexpected. And this is what's really wonderful about Kennedy Center Honors, is that we have always very, very name-friendly, big, well-known celebrities. And then we always have one or two artists who are perhaps less well-known to the broad audience. And Carmen de Lavallade, despite her remarkable career, was one of those artists. And the tribute that was put together for her with the dancers and the speakers and the musicians was just so beautiful. And I will always remember that one as well. I know that we'll have at least one or more of that kind of moments this weekend as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's such a great point because, you know, people might tune in for, you know, I don't know, LL Cool J or whatever, or I guess, yeah, that year was LL Cool J, but then they did learn about Carmen de Lavalade and vice versa.
Exactly, exactly. People didn't know anything about LL, and they didn't know that he's really good friends with Lionel Richie, and that in fact they all have a relationship back to Norman Lear. So that's what I really love when you get the honorees together on Saturday morning
Mhm.
and you find out that they actually all know one another or they have some other connection to one another. That's the really special moment for me personally, I have to say.
Absolutely. All right. Well, that's the perfect segue. Without further ado, let's go into this year's honorees for the 45th annual Kennedy Center Honors. And let's take them one at a time so I can get, you know, a separate soundbite on each of these. So let's start off with the actor who I always call our generation's Cary Grant, Mr. George Clooney. You could say long overdue, but I mean, these are always legends, so it's hard to find room. But man, why are we obviously I want to hear it in your words, but it's obvious. Why are we picking George Clooney?
Well, other than the fact that he is indeed our generation's Cary Grant, and I haven't met a single person yet who said, "Oh yeah, he's not really that good looking." Um, I really believe it's the diversity of what he's done, how he's been a producer, he's as well as an actor, but more than that, it's the role he plays off stage as well. He is truly a citizen artist using his talents to make the world a better place, how he has appropriately, you know, involved himself in issues both here in the United States, around the world. I think he is a truly remarkable individual.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I love that you mentioned not only the acting, but you know, he's directed Good Night and Good Luck, which was the great Edward Murrow movie. He's produced, I guess he won an Oscar producing Argo, one of the producers, but then, you know, and then of course, then acting he won for Syriana. And but what do you have a personal favorite role? I mean, I'm trying to a bunch come to me. I mean, Ocean's 11, Michael Clayton, Up in the Air, The Descendants, Ides of March. He's done so many, but do you have a personal favorite?
Well, this is going to date me perhaps, but you know, when we first all got to know the man as Dr. Ross, he will never be anything other than that. It's so hard actually in standing, looking at him, talking to him about any number of different things, not to think back to that moment.
You're talking ER.
I'm talking ER. Yes, I am. And the fact of the matter is that I, you know, we are all of a certain generation, and we all have our favorite shows. But this was one that was sort of one of those shows I made a point of figuring out how to watch. Appointment television. Imagine that.
I know. Now you can just fire it up whenever you want. But you know what? The good news on that, I guess, is you can watch ER. You can binge all of them now. Where just pull it right up. But yes, I'm sure most people will, you know, remember Ocean's 11 and ER. And I got to give a shout out to Oh Brother Where Art Thou. That movie was hilarious with the Coen brothers. But there's just
I just saw him last in his newest movie, and it was just so fun. You know, it was I needed something that was just going to be uplifting and fun. And Ticket to Paradise is just a really beautiful film too. He's, you know, he's not the beloved character in it until a little further in, but you know, he's George Clooney. What's not to love?
Gotta love him. Gotta love him. I think he should have won for The Descendants, and then he was in Gravity. There's so many. We could go all day. But let's move on to one of the other honorees. So all right, so George Clooney is one. That's hard to top. But you managed to do it. You top it. Gladys Knight. Let's talk about you know, legendary, you know, the singer with the Pips and all those great songs. Why'd we go with Gladys Knight this year?
You know, Gladys is somebody who has had a relationship in this city and with the honors. Certainly somebody that we've all listened to for so long, changed the world, the way we think about her her and her music making. She's has won so many Grammys in all kinds of different art forms. She was here for Garth Brooks. Can you remember that?
Oh my gosh, Garth, the king of country. Yes,
absolutely. And so, you know, the thing is that people say, well, why hasn't this person already won? Well, you know, we only honor 5 a year. It's about the timing. It's about who's doing what, when, where, how, etc. And we're just thrilled that she is. She will be here this week. She's doing a citizen artist giving back into the world and participating in World AIDS Day at the Kennedy Center on Wednesday this week.
Absolutely. And so many legendary songs, Midnight Train to Georgia, and That's What Friends Are For. And she did a version of Heard It Through the Grapevine. There's so many. Do you have any personal favorites?
I think That's What Friends Are For. I think it's so moving. And it's so extraordinary about the way in which she's worked with other artists. She's a real collaborator, which I think is really wonderful. But That's What Friends Are For, pulls the heartstrings.
Absolutely. I think she even did a Bond theme too, License to Kill. She's done it all. She's done it all. And then hearing her sing Garth Brooks just proved that she could do it all.
Exactly.
Awesome. All right. And then another singer, we mentioned country music. Never mind. Amy Grant's not really country. Well, she's gospel, Christian pop. She's done it all. I'm thinking the Vince Gill connection, but
exactly. I mean, she is really remarkable, and how she has really blended into so many different art forms, how respected she is. I'm really excited about the tribute that we're putting together for her. And in the program book, we've got a very, very long, loving tribute letter to Amy from Dolly Parton. It's just magnificent. And it really speaks to who she is as a person. A beautiful, really beautiful humility, brings to her music making her very soul. And I think it's going to be a beautiful tribute.
Now, is Vince Gill, her husband, a possibility as a performer? Or does he get to sit up in the balcony with her?
The world is a possibility.
Beautiful dodge. Way to spin out of that.
You saw my soporific smile on my face. Yes, anything is possible.
Exactly. Anything's possible. But yes, we interviewed Amy Grant a couple months ago. She came to Capital One Hall or something, I think. But yeah, we need to remind our listeners that you know the name, but you totally forget how many even pop radio hits. I mean, Baby and Every Heartbeat and Good for Me, and I will remember you. Like, people will. I'm telling you, you will know all of these songs. So there's a plethora of stuff that your guest performers can perform with Amy Grant. All right, cool. And then U2. Oh my gosh. I mean, they could be a headliner. These sell out stadiums worldwide. I've seen them live. They're amazing. Bono and The Edge and everybody. But man, this is one of the biggest rock bands. I mean, you've done Led Zeppelin and I guess Eagles, but this has got to be one of the biggest bands you've ever honored here.
I think you are absolutely right. And I was, we have, and I have to say that in a way, U2 is my generation, but it is also earlier. I mean, I'm older for the U2, so Eagles and Led Zeppelin were more my generation. But I have to say, the work of U2 and the way they connect through their music, the poetry of their music, the messaging of their music is so iconic. And the worldwide recognition and appreciation for who they are as artists. It's such a fascinating story that they have, and how they came together and how they started the band and then how they make decisions. As with some of these folks, we've been talking to them for a number of years, and it really was because they could be here all together at this time that U2 is being honored this year. And I'm just so impressed by who they are as people. Again, the citizen artistry of individuals who use their platform to make the world a better place, really remarkable. But I have to say, it'll be very different being in a 2,000 seat opera house than in a 100,000 seat and arena or large concert venue.
Oh, I mean, it's such a great point to see an intimate perform or well, they're not going to play, but they'll be watching other people play. To see their songs live in this intimate setting. I mean, they saw, they headlined the freaking Super Bowl. I mean, they will remember. I'll never forget their 9/11 tribute with where the streets have no names. I don't know if you remember, but where
Yep, I sure do.
Oh, the names of all the victims went up on the towers collapsing, and Bono just lets out this primal scream, and he had the American flag inside his jacket, and oh, it is yeah, bring you to tears just thinking about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, talk about their versatility. Like, so you do a transcendent song like Where the Streets Have No Name, but with or without you could rip your heart out, or they could do political like the MLK, the Pride in the Name of Love, spiritual, Mysterious Ways, humanist like One Love, uplifting, Beautiful Day. God, I could go all day. But like, talk about how it's an embarrassment of riches of songs to give to these surprise performers, won't it be?
So honestly, Jason, you are remarkable about how you know all of these artists and you know it so deeply. I'm really, really impressed. So, lifetime achievement for artistry is something that we think about all the time. And the artist that has the most diversity, the most apparent growth, the way in which they are revealing who they are in the world today and shining a light on who we are in the world today. And that's the remarkable thing. When you think about a band like U2, it could be, oh yeah, they sell out arenas, they have fans all around the world. The impact is so huge, but they continue to evolve and grow and give back and tell stories that are meaningful in our world today. And that is a part of why we care about celebrating artists like this. They are changing our culture. They're reminding us who we are. They are giving to so many people. I will tell you that we have had a remarkable number of people say, I'm Bono's best friend. I need to be at Kennedy Center Honors.
How many best friends does he have?
I know, how many best friends can you have in the world? But these artists, not just Bono, but all four of them are truly, truly generous and have made a huge impact on people's lives.
Yes, and I mentioned Bono and The Edge, but I definitely want to shout out Adam Clayton and Larry Mullen Jr. They need their time in the sun too. Before we move on to the final honoree, do you have a personal favorite U2 song? That's like picking your favorite, child or whatever the analogy is.
Well, that's exactly right. But I still haven't found what I'm looking for is really my favorite. When my husband said, "Okay, sing me some songs again," this is the classical music geek. Sing me some U2. Oh yes, I know that. Oh yes, okay. I know this band. Yeah, that one is moving to me. I love it.
Absolutely. I remember growing up hearing that on the radio, and they've been able to, from the Joshua Tree stuff of the 80s to the Hold Me, Throw Me, Kiss Me, Kill Me, Batman stuff of the 90s, and Beautiful Day and all that stuff was early 2000s, and they're still going. I mean, few bands, maybe in the Rolling Stones, but have had hits in more decades. I mean, the Beatles were just that 9-year window or whatever. So, you know what I mean? U2's kept it going. All right. Well, without further ado, the fifth and final honoree, Tanya Leon. You mentioned earlier there's usually, usually pick four, popular mainstream people that everybody know, and then there's one of the quote unquote high arts. I hate that term, but you know what I mean. There's one lesser known artist. So talk about why Tanya Leon, why everybody should know that name after this Sunday.
Yeah, Tanya Leon is a remarkable woman who has never been looking for the platform and the spotlight, but she has been driven from her earliest age to express herself through music. She found her way from Cuba to the United States and has ultimately played every kind of role in classical music and working across genres with dancers and in chamber music and all other forms of art, whether it is as an educator or as a communicator. She has stood up for composers and artists. She was an early pioneer working with the Dance Theater of Harlem. The thing about Tanya is that her music draws you in and attaches itself to you in your heart. She just won the Pulitzer Prize last year for work that was commissioned by the New York Philharmonic in honor of with women's suffrage anniversary. And I have a connection to her only because my family loved to commission a lot of brand new work. And so this is the first time I'm actually telling anybody that I had the first thing that Tanya said to me when I called her after a great pause of silence was, "Will your father be there?" Because my father was an early commissioner of Tanya's. I'm very proud of all that she has achieved. She is a remarkable woman. Again, I just literally before I came on the radio with you, had an email from a colleague who said, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. I must be the last person in Tanya's network who is writing to say, can I please buy a ticket to be there this weekend?" But it is truly beautiful to see that we're getting just as many people writing saying, "I am a big Tanya Leon friend and fan, and I need to be there." So it makes me feel great that you two and Tanya Leon can have that kind of fandom.
Oh yeah, and it's just great that the Kennedy Center Honors runs the gamut from across all art disciplines. It's fantastic. Well, real quick, I want to follow up on that bit of breaking WTOP news. But what do you know what your father commissioned? Do you remember what the piece was?
I don't remember what the piece was, but he wrote it. He asked it to be written for a choral group. And I am embarrassed to say I should know what the name of that piece is, but I don't.
It's all right. You have until Sunday to.
Okay, I will get that for you. Yeah.
I'm sure people will ask you. So yeah, that's your homework. As if you don't have enough on your plate. Let's end there then. You know, big picture it. We mentioned the artist this year getting honored. We mentioned the celebrity guests, and I mean, people will remember Aretha and Heart doing Zeppelin Stairway to Heaven. That's probably the most famous one on YouTube. Go on YouTube and watch it now if you haven't. The guy, Robert Plant, was crying. I mean, just talk about how big of a thing this is in terms of DC events. It's the DC event, and also nation and worldwide watch it on PBS. My mom watches it every year, a couple weeks later after it's filmed and airs on PBS. Like, talk about how it is like the Washington event that everyone tunes in for every year.
What is really remarkable, and you've heard me say this, I like to say, well, there are 364 other days in the year where we do wonderful events at the Kennedy Center. But this one night is the night that brings Hollywood, business, politics, and international attention all into the same room. We have an extraordinary audience to match the extraordinary stage of performers this year. And it almost feels like people really, truly are saying, now we are ready all to be together once again. And let's remember, the arts are a place where we do build empathy and understanding and connection. And the room will be filled with people on both sides of the aisle, representing countries from around the world, and businesses large and small. It is that special because there is an interest in the role in the arts in our world. Let's be clear, we all need something that makes our world better, and the arts, no matter where you stand on the spectrum, the arts bring us together. And when you have a variety of artists like this, you're going to have that kind of celebration. This is the biggest night in Washington, I like to think, not just because it's the Kennedy Center, but because it's the arts. And the attention that the White House and the Vice President's office have given to the arts in this country has been really one that is deeply, deeply appreciated.
And
But
will
let's
the
be
president,
clear.
first lady be there? Because I know the last couple years, well, like to your point, it was always what I loved about it was always a bipartisan thing for whether it was Barack Obama or President Bush or President whatever, like Reagan, like they would always come and not mentioning any names, but it was really sad that it was someone so divisive that people were pulling out of the Kennedy Center Honors. But I don't even want to go down that track. But I'm glad it's sort of back to people from all sides of the aisle can come to the Kennedy Center and enjoy this. But will the president be there?
Well, as you know, this is a really big week here in Washington, D.C., and it's
Mhm.
not just about the Christmas tree lighting on Wednesday, but there's another big event, I think, at the White House this week as well. But as far as I know, we will be seeing them. They're still working out all the logistics. Last year, we did have both the president and first lady, and the vice president and the second gentleman, and we're hoping that we can welcome them all back to the Kennedy Center this weekend as well.
Awesome. Well, again, it is this Sunday, December 4th, the 45th annual Kennedy Center Honors, celebrating George Clooney, Gladys Knight, Amy Grant, U2, and Tanya Leone. Man, that is a lineup and a half. Not to mention all the surprise guests. So, hey, thanks so much for doing this. Do we have an air date on the PBS?
Yes,
yet?
we do. It's on CBS.
CBS. Sorry, I said PBS.
CBS on December 28th at 8 p.m. Eastern and Pacific.
Awesome.
So
Thank you.
everybody will be able to see it then.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for making so much time and going into such depth on all these artists. It is going to be a fantastic night. Thanks so much.
Jason, great to talk with you.
All right. Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks so much for listening to Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. Our theme music is Scott Buckley's Clarion. Remember to give us a 5-star rating if you like what you hear. We'll see you next time.
Explain your DNA on 10 cases, man.
You're inside the police interrogation room with the alleged Potomac River rapist.
I'm not guilty on any of this stuff.
So calm, so reasonable. Could this be the man who terrorized women for 9 years before murdering a brilliant scientist 2 decades ago? Experience one of the most fascinating true crime podcasts available. Join crime reporter Paul Wagner for Unknown Subject, Season 3 of WTOP's American Nightmare series. Search American Nightmare Podcast on all podcast platforms.
I wanted to take a second to tell you about an app I really enjoy. Living in the DC area is great, and Podcast DC gathers all of the local shows that I like all in one local app. Health, sports, local news, politics, and so much more. Podcast DC is the new local app with hundreds of DC area podcasts to choose from. I can earn exciting rewards just for listening and share the podcasts I love instantly. Available in the App Store or in Google Play, listen local with Podcast DC.